Yeah, the skin.
Okay. So today, what we will do is we will first start with Matplotlib. Uh, to yesterday, Tushar started Matplotlib, right? So you guys already know how to plot simple graphs and all, right? So what we will do today is we will see little more different graphs. There are certain types of graphs available, and we will see how to label the graph and how to add the ledger and all. Okay, and then I will continue with the ML theory. Today we will see how to make decision trees and how to relate data and how to make decisions from data. Okay, so let's start. I think you all should be ready with your collab notebooks. Okay, so okay, put a thumbs up or okay as you all guys are ready with your notebooks. All right. So what we'll do is just a moment, guys. It's loading. Yeah. So we left with data frames. We seen operations on data frame, different kind of operations. Now today we will see how to make plots using those data frames. How to plot data or columns into the diagrams, right? Okay. So let's start. Uh, First of all, we will import matplotlib, as you might know already because you guys have done it yesterday. Matplotlib dot pyplot. Okay. Why we are doing this matplotlib dot pyplot? As we already know, we have discussed that there are bunch of code in files someone else written, and this is the way to import them. Okay. Import matplotlib.pyplot because we will only use pyplot functions to plot, okay, as plt. All right. So once we have imported library, then we are ready to go. Let's just use this older data frame. What we have named df. Okay. Let's see df.head and it should be there. Okay, I need to run all these cells again. Okay, just a moment, guys. Where we started. Yeah. Oh, so I'll run this cell again, and now we will be ready to go. There is some PD. Okay, let's import. You can run whole file if you are using different. If you have make different notebook for this for different sessions, right? You can run all the files from here. Okay. Where is it? runtime run all. Okay, but my file contains lots of shells, so it would take a lot of time. So what I will do is just run the required portions, and then we are ready to go. Okay. Now we can use DF data frame. Okay. So let's see our data frame, right? And then we will start plotting. All right. So in Matplotlib, we have imported it as PLT, so we don't need to write all these things again and again. We can use PLT, and there are bunch of these two are the most basic operations on Matplotlib library, which is useful to draw plots. This at this point in on this function, like plot dot plot, okay, plt dot plot. What we are doing is mentioning what to do. Okay, here we are just telling it what to do. We have to explicitly tell it to show the results. Okay, to show the graph. So here what we can do is we can simply if we pass only one argument, like latitude, let's say df latitude. What we are doing here is we are just passing one single column. Okay, it acts as a list. Okay, so it will what it will do is it will load the values against a number of rows. Okay, so these are the number of rows we have seen. We had 17,000, and these all are the values. So we can pretty much understand that the values range from 0 to 42 or something. Okay, approximately. So what we are doing is just passing one argument, only one argument. Okay. If we want, when we pass only single argument, what it does is it loads the values against this number of rows, means the indexes. Okay. So if we want to draw against two x and y, if you want to specify x and y, just for example, okay, here there are population count. Okay, this column is of population count, and there are total rooms. Okay, so we want to know that what is the relation between population and total rooms. Okay, so we cannot read all the rows, right? We cannot read 17,000 rows, but we can get a glimpse of the data using this float. Okay, so we can pass two arguments to this float, and what it will do is we have to actually specify that this is the x and this is the y. Okay, like this I have mentioned here. Okay, but we will do it again. All right, x equals population. Okay, we have to give it df population. Okay, and we have to separate it by comma, and then y equals df and total rooms, right? It was total rooms. Okay, rooms. Then actually, if you see, just a minute, x is not keyword. Okay, we can pass it directly. Just a minute. Yeah. So if we let's see that here we have some relation, right? Total number of rooms and population count. Okay, so we can see that where the population are higher, the rooms are higher, and where the population are lower, the rooms count is also lower. So it is somewhat what we can say proportional, and most of the majority of the data is like the total range of the data is from 0 to this value, right? But majority of the data lies between this area, this small portion. I cannot select this, but you can see this. This small portion have lots of rooms. Okay, so what you can like see here is that there are like catered rooms as well, and these are uh, it's better to use a dot graph here. Let's see that. So most of the rooms are like here only. Okay, so this whole contain is are the rows of values. Okay, so what we have here is we have actually this data is of houses, right? So most of the um, houses are in the population area of this, like from 0 to 1000, let's say 10,000, and the count of rooms are between 0 to 20,000. This is actually what we can also see is that uh, that most of the majority are like majority areas are containing not more than this amount, and very less areas have larger population like 35,000 population. Okay, so we can conclude some, we can get some information from this. Okay, and then we have a different kind of plot as well. This is similar to this dot. We have passed this argument right here to mention that it should be looking like dot. Okay, so what we can do is we can actually this dotted graph have a different name as well. This is called scatter graph. So it shows the scattering of the data. Okay, so first we will see with one argument. Okay, so scattered, and here we have to mention x and y. Okay, so let's see. We will first see only population, like what is the scattering of population, or how the population is distributed. Okay, and and just momentary YSY. Okay, like as I mentioned, these two are the basic this functions, and these are all little bit advanced, like not advanced, but made top on these two functions. Okay, so what we can say is something inside, like in the background, it is using these two functions only. So y equals on df, or you can say just index. We cannot use index. Okay, right. Okay, we will use directly two columns. Okay, y equals df and total rooms. We should get graph something like this only, dotted graph. It shows the scattering. Okay, so we should be able to draw it with index. Okay, we will try again. And position argument follows keyword argument. Okay, so we need some kind of data to plot against it. Okay, all right. And if we do not pass anything, it requires fire. Okay, just remember that this data have this kind of syntax. Okay, we have to mention x and y, both the values. All right, we cannot use single like in this, in plot function we can use single argument, and we can plot it against the index. Okay, so we will keep it as it is. So you can see here that this is similar to like this plot function with O notation, and here without plot function we can use scatter to draw that. All right, and let's see. keep it as it is. Oops. Then we have historical graph, which means let's see, you will get clear. I'm sorry, I might mistake here. Okay, so now let's see this historical graph. Here also we have to specify x and y as well. Okay, so plot hist, then x, because let's draw something else this time. Okay, what we can do is we can let's plot longitude, no, not longitude and latitude. We can use this housing median age and the median income. Okay, housing median age and median income. Housing median age, and for y you can use median income. You can draw whatever like data, okay, with this. Just you need some data for drawing it, and you have to like figure it out like before coding that what you have to plot and which plotting would be helpful for you. So you have, I randomly selected this two, median income and housing median age, but you have to figure it out. Like you can try these things to understand what happened, but while actually implementing, you have to like see what can be useful operations to perform. Okay. Housing age. Okay. Okay. Just a moment. Yeah. Now, am I audible, right? My voice is not too low or high. Okay. Median age. Just spelling. Median income and housing median age. It's from here. Let's see. Median income here. Okay. Just a moment, guys. Just a moment. We will see, like, okay, we will consider this historical graph later. Let's move on with other types. Okay, so there are bar graphs as well. So let's see bar graph. So bar, and then we have to specify both this x and y. Here I'm not writing x and y. Okay, longitude, comma, df, longitude. Am I writing this correct spelling? Let's see. Yeah, longitude. Okay. So let's run it and see what happens. Just a moment, guys. It is running. Container object sample test. So just let's run it with 5. Okay, I got what happened just because there are 70,000 now, so there are lots of bars it is plotting. So we will reduce it to few number of bars. It is still a lot of them. Okay, what we can do is we can use a simple list here instead of going with the whole 17,000 data. What we can do is red, just say red, green, blue, and then we can use any kind of data for this graphs. It is not compulsory to use numerical values, because this is bar graph is like useful when we have some categories, right? So here all these numerical values are different values. So for all that values, it is showing this graph. Okay, it is drawing a bar. So that's why it is happening. We will consider our custom made list. Okay, so let's say 3, 4, 5, and see. Yeah, here you can see for red, it is 3, 4, 5. Okay, so when we have like these things, actually I was trying to show you just different kind of bars and graphs, but we have to actually it is not good practice, right, to use the same tool on every task, right? So we need to change accordingly. Okay, so for categorical type of data, you can use this bar graph as well. Okay, so it can be anything. In our the data frame, we have all the numerical values, right? So it was not properly showing the bar graph. Okay, then next we have box plot as well. Let's see how it looks. First, box plot, and we will pass. We will again we will pass for numerical data. Okay, for distribution. Okay. Let's see. We will try it actually. What happens? Because it's good practice to like apply everything and see what happens with features. Okay. So here name sort is not defined. Okay. Actually, we have to use PLT. And this is like what is this is giving us is actually it's not visible properly, but this is the telling us the distribution, like how these single values are distributed. Let's use some other. Okay, let's use our own list. Okay, plot, box plot, and then pass our own list, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2. You can pass any numbers. Okay, this is just for simplicity to know like what kind of graphs we can use and what kind of graphs are there. Okay. Just take note that don't like don't mistake, like just keep the syntax in mind, like we are passing just a list here. Okay, bunch of values, and we'll see like it will just show the distribution, like it is helpful to show the distribution. Okay, so what it is showing us that most of the values like this is orange line, we have this data here. Okay, like median and all. So just a moment guys. Here 20 values. All right, then starting and ending values. Okay, so here what we can interpret here is we have this 20, like this is showing the number of actually this is a mathematical, like we have to like learn different type of graphs. Okay, so we will not go into detail, like I will just tell you what it is showing to us. that this is the total number of values. Okay, so I think it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, so it is around 19, I guess, and then it is showing the starting value and the ending value, like above 60 something. Okay. So actually this is the ending value, this dash. Okay, so we have 97 as well. Okay. So it will take like we have to learn this separately, like how to interpret different type of graphs. Okay, so you can search on Google how to interpret box plots, because it represents a lot of information aspects, like it is mentioned mean, medians and all. So you can check it out to like how to interpret this kind of graphs. Okay, and here I think it's showing us the distribution only, because there are lots of points here above. And let's see some more stuff. The red line is median. Like see, and this one is the median. The lower line of is the minimum non-outer value. The lower line is a minimum non-outer value. So like there are outer values, non-outer values, minimum, maximum, and all. Okay, like third quartile or first quartile, like that. So like we have to understand all those stuff. Okay, you can check it out more on internet. Okay, we will move on with other things on like what we can do on plot. Then we can like actually label like if we as we do in notebooks, right? We represent as well that what these all things are. We label this y-axis, like what we are presenting on y-axis and what we are presenting on x-axis. Here, this is only values, but we can name that like these are the like number of people or who are wearing red t-shirt, green t-shirt, blue t-shirt. Okay, so we can do that also, and we will try here only doing that. Let's create one more code shell, and what we can do is we can try it out here only. Yeah. So we have bar graph we have, and now we want to label x and y axis. Okay. So let's do that. For x label, we have x label for that, and y label as well. So now what we will do is for x like color of t-shirt, or just color of a color of tees. Then on y-axis we have y label, name, number of people, let's say people, and yeah, that's it. We can get the labels as well. We can also like label the graph as well. What is this? My file has not required label. Okay, I made a spelling mistake. I'm sorry. Yeah. So here you can see we can mention this label, number of people, color of tees. Okay. Then we can also do title as well. Okay. We have to like name this graph, and actually these things, y label, x label, and title and all, that can be done on any type of graph. Okay. So we have title, and we can pass, similarly we can pass a string. Let's say what could we name this graph? Okay. Audience. We will just audience. Okay. And just audience. Okay. And here we can get audience as a title. We can specify anything as we required according to our requirement. Then we can also size this as well. Like we can also specify. Let's see. I will do it on here. Okay. Dot size. And we use for plotting, we use a figure method. Means figure and then round braces. We have figure method, and inside that we can specify figure size. The keyword for that is fig size, and equals to, we have to pass values like that. Let's see, 12 by 12 or 12 by 8. Here we are specifying the ratios. Okay, so it's just a ratio. System. I'll zoom out. Or yeah, here it is 12 by 8. We can specify like 12 by 12 as well. And it gives us different size of figure. What is it? Okay, 1 minute. 1 minute. Okay, I zoomed out a lot. Can you see it now? Proper size? Okay. Yeah, now it's
yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Where it gone? Just a moment, guys. I think my screen is a little bit hanging. Okay. So here we got like a big graph. Okay. So we can just like specify size. And just say 4 by 4. We'll get small graph as here. So it actually, you can see it is in square, right? 4 by 4. So like the magnitude of this number will like determine the size, and it can also determine ratios as well from this like 4 by 4 means square. Okay. Then next what we have actually I haven't written all these things here. I didn't get time, but I have another notes with me. So what we have next is, we want to plot more things in one graph. Okay. We will move on to previous example. Let's see. We have this graph. Okay, this graph. You can come to this graph, scattered one. We will take scattered one. Okay. So here what we did is we just plotted x and y, x versus y. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to plot two different kind of plots. Okay. Like here we have total rooms, and other thing we can consider is total bedrooms. Okay. Then this is one graph. Okay. So I also want to draw scattered graph, same graph, and I'll specify df. Then what was that? Bedroom, right? Population versus bedrooms, total bedrooms. Populations. Then df. Total bedrooms. Okay. Yeah. So now what we want to do is one thing. If you have noticed, like we are just what we are doing is just plot, which is the name of library, and then we are just mentioning this plot. Okay. So this, when we use this function one time, we that means one plot. Okay. And if you like these two are two plots, two different plots. Okay. But what happened will is it will plot on the same that plot, same graph. Okay, on this and this same figure. And one thing is it automatically like changes the color as well for us, so we don't have to explicitly tell it. So if we add some more graphs with it inside this, then it will show all this graph with different colors. Okay. So here we can see total bedrooms are population versus total bedrooms are orange, and these are of blue. But now we don't know that, right? Which one is which? So what we can do is we can add legend as well, or we can just specify label as well. If we as we mentioned now, X label and Y label. If we specify just label, which we can do here, then it will tell us label. Okay. Instead of labeling X and Y axis, we can use this label, blue label, and this orange label as well. Okay. So we are labeling the whole graph. We are not labeling X and Y axis individually. So let's see if we label this as blue rooms, right? Okay. We will just mention it as rooms, and for this we will consider it as bedrooms. Label it bedroom. So then here if you have remember in graphs we specify some details here, right, in small box. Here we refer to it as legend, which is just shows the details, some more detail about this graph. So we can use that legend. Okay, we don't have to specify anything. It automatically reads this, and most of the times it is used together. Like when we specify this label, then we don't have to give it specify anything in here. Legend. It will just show legend, and if we haven't labeled here, then it will only show the blank boxes, or only show blue and orange dots. Okay. So let's see. It will show us the legend, and we can now interpret what the data is and which graph belongs to which color. Okay. So here you can see rooms as it reads the labels here from here, rooms and bedrooms. So now we can see that oranges are the bedrooms and blue are the rooms. Okay. Then other types. Okay. So I think this much is pretty good. Like here, you can also mention this title and X label, Y label, and all. Okay. So it's already 7:20. So I think it's enough for today. In the coming lecture, what we will do is we will see some more graphs, but that would be little different than this one. Like this graph, we already have used in at some point of time in our schools, right? These are basic graphs, and there are also more advanced graphs which are much more important in the sense of that they convey more information in visualization. So we will see those graphs, and I'm just mentioning the name of that library is called Seaborn. Okay, that is we will see that most probably tomorrow, and I think now we should cover somewhat machine learning concepts, right? So is it okay? Is there any doubt till here? This historical graph now I will check it once again, like what is causing the problem, and we will cover it historical graph tomorrow. Okay, before starting any new topic. Okay, so is there any doubt till here, till what I have teached till now? I haven't checked.
Can you type the name of the library in the chat box, please?
Type the name of the library. Okay, sure. The name of the library is Seaborn. Okay. Is there any doubt regarding this graph? Any labels or somewhere? Or if you want any if you have already seen any new functionality here. I think already most of you are new here, right? With machine learning and all. Okay, all clear. Okay, so I think now we should move on with, we should cover little uh, concepts, ML concepts. Alright. So, like before starting, like till now, what you have all covered is regression. I think linear regression. Yesterday, I think you covered logistic regression as well, right? Classifications. Okay. So today it is little bit different than what you have like seen till now. Okay, a little different, but you will get it. It's very easy. Okay. So and there are something called decision trees. If you had studied math or like if you like math and did anyone have math background and heard about graphs and trees? If not heard or not clear with that, no worries. It's very easy. Like trees are something we will cover what trees are, and there is decision trees. So it's just a representation of how decisions can be made, and we will see how to use data to make such decisions. And like let's start, and you will get it. Like it's very easy. Okay, so today we will cover decision trees. Why decision trees are required? First question. Okay, so decision trees are required when we have data, like we have lots of data of, let's consider different people, and this is a very simple approach to solve any problem. Okay, so in general, like in real life, what we do is like how we make decisions, like just simply decisions. Okay, because what machine is doing, it is just doing decisions. It's on its own, right? We are not telling it, but we are telling it the rules to make decisions. Okay, so in general, how we make decisions, like if I have fever, then I need to take medicines. Okay, so before that, if we like see a whole scenario, then I would first check my temperature. If my temperature is high, okay, so the next question arises: if my temperature is high, then is my am I having a fever? Like if I am I experiencing any symptoms of fever? Then if yes, then I should take medicine. If I am my temperature is high, but I am not feeling any what we can say, I am not feeling any symptoms of any fever. Like it can be just because I was running, so my temperature of my body can be increased, right? So what is the general simple approach to make decision is we check, and there are certain we end up in certain questions like, is this true? Then do this, or else do that. We have covered like this concept, right? If else or else, if else, right? So it is similar to that, but just the representation of this decision making is little different. Okay, you can think of it as a chain of decisions, like if this, then this, then this. Okay. Okay, all right. So this is just a representation of how we generally make decisions. Okay, let's understand this with example. All these PPT slides are made up of examples, so you will quickly get what we are doing, and you will be quickly understanding the concepts. Okay, so and these are decision trees. Decision trees are generally made up of a question and two possible outcomes. Most of the cases, not most of the cases, all the cases end up with answers true or false, yes or no, that type of questions. Okay, so there are only two possible answers, either true or false. So just for an example, a person has a resting heart rate greater than 100. Okay, so is heart rate greater than 100, then there can be only two possible answers, true or false. If it is greater than 100, then true, else false. Okay, so if there is greater than 100, then like some patients might need doctor, or if it is not, then no worries. So this is how we make decisions, and this is just a simple representation. There is here question, you can see my cursor and two possible answers. Okay. Then we have next another example. Like this is all containing examples. Okay, so we will just discuss examples. If I am hungry, I am very hungry. Okay, then I need to if I am hungry, true, then I need to eat. Okay, then I'm not that much hungry, but I am little hungry. Okay, the next question arises is if not too much hungry, but are you little hungry? If yes, true, then you may need some snacks. Okay, you would like to take some snacks. And if not at all, you're hungry, then no need to eat anything, right? So this is how we make decisions. Okay, so not everyone, in general life, we don't recognize this type of structure. But if you think, you can change the decisions like this. Okay, so first one condition, then according to that, its answer, another condition, and so on. Okay, so you can write those decisions like this, and similarly, this we consider our general decisions, right? So now, in most of the cases, when we are dealing with data, because all this machine learning task and everything depends on data. Okay, so we need to make decisions on data. Okay, so we know that we make decisions like this. I think you might have heard what is AI? AI is making machines able to make decisions like humans, right? So we are having this data, okay, and let's consider this is data from any hospital of patients, okay, and we want to make decisions from this data, from reading this table, we want to make decisions, okay. So we make decisions in this format, this tree kind of format, and this is the tabular data, right? We can interpret small tables, we can interpret small data, but we are not capable of reading a huge table, right? If it contains 1,000 rows, we cannot tell that what is happening. If some patients do not have chest pain and do not have heart disease, but someone might have heart disease and someone has some chest pain but do not have heart disease. Someone might have chest pain but also have heart disease. Chest pain can be caused through multiple things, right? If someone just punched him, then his or her chest might be paining, but it doesn't mean all the time that it would have a heart disease, right? So there are different cases. These are the different cases, okay, of patients, and we have to interpret all of them. So we cannot interpret all of them at once, right? So what we need to do is we need some form, you can see here that chest pain is there. Okay, this is blood circulation. Blood circulation is good. Blocked arteries, no. Then heart disease is not there. Okay, and here chest pain is there. Blood circulation is also good. Blocked arteries are blocked. Okay, and it has heart disease. So how does person know that does he have doctors can know by examining, but if we see here there is both of them have chest pain, right? Both of them have good circulation of blood, and one has blocked arteries and another one do not have blocked arteries. So if we see, then we it seems like that the heart disease only depends on this blocked arteries, right? It seems like that, but it is not the case. Okay, so here we do not know blocked arteries, okay, but the blood circulation is not good, and the person has this heart disease, okay, and chest pain is also there. So there are different combinations also, right? So we cannot interpret all the patients and just decide that if you have this and then you will have this. Okay, we cannot tell on single basis, if you have chest pain, then you will have heart disease. We cannot tell that. Okay, we have to see relation between heart disease and all three all these three attributes, right? We have to see the relationship between all these three. Like we have to check what is the relationship between heart disease and chest pain. And similarly with blood circulation and blocked arteries, right? And what our task is, like we know that we make decisions like this, and we also know that computers we use if-else conditions, right? So this is just a representation of if-else conditions, this tree. Okay. So now we want computer to make decisions like if-else. Okay. By reading this data, like you first go through this data, understand this data, and then make decisions. So to to help the computer to make decisions, what we do is we help it making this decision tree, like how to make decisions. Okay. So we will see and today we will see in detail like how we do each step and how we make decisions, or what we can say, how we help computer to make decisions and how computer makes decisions. Okay. So what we are doing here is we are finding the relationship first with heart disease and chest. Like one by one, we will find relationship between all of these attributes. Okay. And while comparing, what we got is where someone has chest pain, but no chest pain, no heart disease. Okay. And here chest pain is there, heart disease is also there. Okay. Here chest pain is also there, but no heart disease. Okay. So we want to understand that what is the relationship between these two, heart disease and chest pain. So what we can do is, for each row we can count the relation. Here we here I will explain how we represent it. Okay. We first take this attribute chest pain. Okay. So as I mentioned, we have two possible outcomes, right? True or false. Okay. So if chest pain is there, true, then there can be two possible options, right? Again, that the person might be having heart disease, or he or she might not have heart disease. Okay. And similarly, if there is no chest pain, then also there can be heart disease, or there cannot be heart disease. Okay. So sometimes the pain doesn't feel, but there is some problem in the heart. Okay. So we are reading this data one by one, and we are counting. What we are counting? These things like the person or patient have heart disease, true, but then what is there? Like this 105 number indicates that the person has chest pain as well as heart disease. Okay, yes, but and 39 represents chest pain but no heart disease, and this similarly this represents no chest pain but there is heart disease, 34, and 125 is there is no chest pain and there is no heart disease. Okay. So by comparing one by one all these things, we are just counting the total number of patients. Like this is the total possibilities of outcome, right? Like there can be chest pain and there can be heart disease. These four are the possible outcomes combination. True yes, true no, false yes, false no. Okay. So similarly, we will do this for all three attributes, or how all the attributes that we have. Okay. Then after calculating, what we got is these numbers. I hope this now you are clear like what these numbers are representing. Okay, so I don't need to repeat that again. This is for chest pain, like relationship between chest pain and heart disease. This is for blood circulation and heart disease, and this is for blocked arteries and heart disease. Okay, so these are the total numbers. Like we have counted, but we are not knowing anything. Like what is the relationship yet? We don't just know that this relationship has this many patients. This relationship has this many patients. Okay, like true and no, true and yes. Okay, so what we can see is there is no clear like outcome between this, right? If we see data, what we can do is, if you consider only these two examples, the second and third, okay. So these are yes for both. These are yes for both. These are yes no for like different, right? And accordingly, there is yes and no. But we do not know that it is heart disease is only depending on block. Why? Because in these two examples, it seems like that it is only depending on blocked arteries because both of the patients have chest pain and blood circulation. Okay, but if we see all the patients, then there are patients who do not have chest pain at all, but there is also there is still heart disease, right? So these are the numbers that are representing all those patients. Okay, and now what we can see here is if we see that we cannot conclude if there is no chest pain, then there can be just for example, all the patients, consider all the patients have chest pain, true, okay, and then in the heart disease, all of them has yes, just consider it, and no is zero. Okay, so what we can conclude is whoever has the chest pain would definitely have heart disease because none of them are found that there is no chest pain but no heart disease. Okay, so if we have all the data and we read all the data and found that all the patients who have chest pain, all of them have heart disease. Okay, if all of them are having heart disease, means there is zero in this block, right? In zero in this block, then what we can consider is then we have some confidence after reading this data that now the relationship is little bit clear between chest pain and heart disease. Okay, but as you can see, there is no such discrimination between yes and no. There are patients with no chest pain and heart disease, and chest pain and no heart disease, right? So similarly, there is no clear discrimination between any patients or any relation between heart disease and any of these attributes. Okay, so are you clear with this? We just calculate the number of all those calculate the number of patients in all this category, and we are just representing it. And did you understand that how we can tell that there is no discrimination and how we could tell that there is a discrimination? So did you understand that if there is zero and all of them are in yes, then we can see that there is some there is clear evidence that there is totally dependent, right? There is chest pain, then there is definitely heart disease. Okay, so are you clear with this till now?
Yes.
Okay. So now we want to make decisions. Okay, so we cannot we haven't derived any relationship between heart disease and any of this attribute, but we want to make decisions. Okay, so we want some way through which we can make some decision. Okay, and that should be in a positive. It should give a positive outcome, right? Our decision should not be wrong, not at all, but as much as possible, we want to make a right decision. Okay, so what we can do is we can see we can tell this thing that these are not pure, these are not pure relationship. If there is clear 0-1 ratio, all of them are in yes and none of them are here no, then we can see that there is pure relationship between chest pain and heart disease. Okay, we will use this pure and impurity. Okay, words to mention here to refer this relationship. Okay, if there is clear purity in the relationship, if there is purity, then we can tell that the relationship is pure. Okay, but there are impure relationships. Okay, because there are no such discriminations. Okay, so we need some way to differentiate and make decisions. So till now we are confused what is related to what. Okay, it seems like everything is related to each other. Okay, so there is a way to here what we just did is just before moving one step further, let's come back and just make clear one doubt. Okay, one step which I forward. See, I gave an example I am too much hungry. Okay, then I need to eat. If I'm then the next question was, am I little hungry? Then I need to eat snacks. Or am I not hungry at all? Then I don't need to eat anything. Then we can understand that this question is more important than the second one, right? Like, if you are hungry, that is the first question, and the second question was, if you are little hungry, like even if you are not hungry, would you like to eat something? Like, okay, so we can understand that certain questions should be asked first. Okay, so if we okay, just consider the reverse example. Okay, first I ask someone, "Are you little hungry?" And if they are hungry, they will tell yes. Okay, so what I will do is I will provide them snacks. Okay, but then like if they tell me that they are little hungry, if they are very much hungry, and I ask them, "Are you little hungry?" Okay, and if they tell me yes, then according to this, what we will do is we will give them snacks because they told that yes, they are little hungry. Okay, but in actual, they were a lot super hungry. Okay, and they need a lot of food to eat. Okay, so we did a mistake in asking the question. We asked the wrong questions. Okay, we can ask, "Are you little hungry?" Okay, if they say no, then we can just move away. Why? Because they are not little hungry. They cannot be super hungry, right? So there is certain missing, what we can say, certain emptiness, or we are missing out on some questions. Okay, that. So we need some order. Okay, to ask questions. The most valuable questions should be asked first, right? I think that hungerness via questions was clear. If I want to give any another example, then okay. Okay. All right. If you want to go to school, okay, then first we ask them, because we don't know. First we ask them at what time your school starts. Okay, and according to them, let's say it is 8:15 and the school starts at 8. Okay, so we ask the student when your school starts. Okay, so they tell it starts at 8. So we watch our we see our watch and we see that it's 8:15. Then another question would be would you like to me to drop you at the school? Should I drop you at the school because you are already late? Okay, so student may say yes, or he may decline, right? So the second question arises only when the first question is important, only when the student is late. Okay, so first we need to clear that he is already late. So then and then only we need to drop him at the school, right? We would not ask that should I drop you to the school without knowing that he is late. Okay, so that is if you think there can be little weightage to different questions, and some questions are a little bit more important. Okay, so we should ask them first. Okay, so you will, when you see example now, you will be clear. Here, what we will do now is which questions to ask first, because as we see in the example, if the answer is true, we are on the different path. Okay, if it is very hungry, we are on the different path. We are not going on this path. Okay, we will not ask them another question do you would you like to should I drop you to the school? We would not ask if they are not already late. Okay, so we need we have to make the tree, this is tree. Okay, we need to make a tree such that it contains all the decisions, and important decisions should be asked first. Okay, so there are weightage in questions. Okay, you can understand by simple intuition in different examples. You will find some difference in all the questions. Okay, and if you try to observe, then you will get the differences. Okay, so here let's see. First, let's get comfortable with the nomenclature. Okay, so I am referring this as a tree. Okay, this is whole as a tree, but the first question or the first box, okay, we refer to as a root, because from there everything starts from there. Okay, So that is a root, right? Then the other boxes, these blue ones, except this first one, all four boxes, 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are called intermediary nodes. What node means is just a point or like node. I think you must have heard this word, right? Nodes or intermediary shelf, you can say, or we refer node as a node. If you are not heard of this, then just remember, and there are something called nodes. Okay, and these are nodes, and these four are nodes. Okay, and then these green ones are leaf. Leaf means leaf of trees. Okay, so what are the leaves? The last ones. Like after that, there is no box or there is no node. Okay, those nodes are called leaves. Okay, so all these ending nodes are leaves. Okay, the first one is root. The intermediary are intermediary nodes or just nodes, and the last ones are leaves. Okay, so that was the nomenclature. And now coming here, that as we have seen that none of the relations were clear, right? None of them were showing any clear difference or purity. Okay, so now we cannot make our judgment on the basis of one. Like we cannot make our judgment on the basis of there is chest pain or not. Okay, we can similarly we cannot make decisions solely on this blood circulation. Okay, as we know that there is no clear discrimination, so we cannot make any judgment on the basis of single question. Okay, so we need to consider all of them. All right, and now as we mentioned, like I try to explain that there are some different weights in questions. Okay, there are different difference in importance of the questions, and there are some relations that follows each other, right? So we need to make a tree out of it, and we need to consider all of these questions, 3 questions. Okay, so as we have here 2 questions, one by one. Similarly, there would be 3 questions, but what we need to find is which questions should be asked first, because if there is any single difference, what we can say, if we come here, then we are skipping all these 3 questions. Okay, all these 3 questions. And while as we mentioned that these are the decision trees, we first answer these questions according to come to the next question, then answer that question, and accordingly next question, and then answer that question, and at last when we reach the leaf node, like that is our like final answer. Okay, the leaf nodes are the answers. Okay, so when we come to these questions, we are skipping all these questions. So we need to show we want to make sure that we are not missing any important information here. Okay, in our decision making. Okay, we need to make accurate decisions as much as possible. Okay, so we need to consider all of these 3, and now we are stuck with which question to ask first. Okay, if we consider like there is chest pain, then there is blood circulation, there is blocked artery, or we ask in reverse order, like there is there is blocked arteries, blood circulation, and then chest pain, there would be some difference. Okay, as I try to explain in analogy, if only if the student is late, then only we asked to drop him to the school, right? So we need to find out that which one is more important, which one is more related to heart disease. Okay, which these 3 are there, all 3 are related to heart disease. Okay, and we want to find that which one is the most relatable to this heart disease. Okay, which one is most relatable. Okay, so in other words, what we want to find is which one has most purity among 3. Okay, none of them are pure, but which one has less impurity or more purity. Okay, all of we will see how to calculate this impurity. There is a way of calculating the relationship between heart disease and chest pain, and all these 3 attributes with heart disease. Okay, so what we will do is we will find relationship of all those 3 with heart disease, and then we will decide that which question to ask first, which one is more pure, which one is more relatable to her disease, we will ask that question first. Okay, because that one is more important. Okay, so here is a little mathematical part to calculate these numbers and relationship between heart disease and chest pain. This is called impurity. Like, we know that this is not pure. Okay, there is not clear discrimination. There is both the cases, yes and no as well. So this is impure. So we want to find what is the impurity of this relation. Like, no, yes, chest pain is there, and there is heart disease, yes and no. Okay, this one is no chest pain, and then there is a heart disease or not. Okay, so we want to find the impurity. We know that till now that we have concluded that seen that these two are not pure. None of them are pure relationships. Okay, so we want to now find impurity. What is the formula of impurity? Or we have a name for this impurity. We call Gini impurity. I think most of you would be you would have learned probability in 10th standards. It is very simple. 1 minus probability of yes. We are just calculating for one part. Okay, we are not calculating for this part. We are calculating for one part. 1 minus probability of yes and then its square minus probability of no and its square. Okay, so here is the basic formula for finding this impurity. So you can write it down if you want, or just remember that it's 1 minus probability of yes square and minus probability of no square. So we will not see like how this formula came into picture. Some mathematicians already calculated and done the work for us. So we will not go into it. And what we want is just this figure, this number. This is the number of impurity. Okay. We can say that the impurity of this relationship with chest pain is 0.395. Similarly, we can find impurity of both. Okay, 0.395 and 0.336. So after calculating Gini impurity, now we can see that this one, the second one is less impure than this one. Okay, its impurity is more than this one. So if we want to what you can say, if you want to make decisions, the less impure one would be more important, right? So here we have calculated for one, okay, for one relation, chest pain. Now with chest pain, there are two different there are two different possibilities, right? There is chest pain, and then we see is there heart disease or not. And there is no chest pain, then also we want to make clear that is there heart disease or not. So we find impurity for both, and then what we are seeing here is we both this is what I can say is these two are impurity. Okay, and this impurity is related to specifically after there is chest pain. Okay, after there is chest pain, what is the relationship or how much is the purity or impurity of heart disease? Okay, and this figure is relating to there is chest pain. Okay, and then there is what is the relationship of heart disease? Okay, so there are two. There are two sub parts, or what we can say, there are two sub relationships. Okay. I hope you understand this, or should I repeat? This is after there is chest pain, and there is no chest pain, and then a relationship of heart disease. Okay. I don't know if I am able to articulate it or not. Can you confirm? Are you understanding this or not? Or should I give another example for this? Can you confirm?
Right now it is clear.
Huh?
Right now it is clear.
Yeah, okay. It's clear, right? Okay. I think there was issue. All right. Okay, so I hope you all also understand chest pain. Yes, and then heart disease. Chest pain, no, and then there is heart disease. Okay, so these are two sub relationship value. Okay, value of impurity, and then now we want to find a clear relationship between chest pain and heart disease. Okay, so actually we wanted to determine what is the relationship between chest pain and heart disease. Okay, but as we see, there can be chest pain and there cannot be, there may not be any chest pain. So for determining the whole relationship between heart disease and chest pain, we first calculated the two parts of chest pain, like after there is heart disease and after there is no heart disease. Okay, so now what we want is the average of this both impurities, weighted average of this both impurities. Okay, so how we would calculate that? So to find the relationship between chest pain and heart disease, we find average of Gini impurities of lymph nodes. Okay, of both these nodes. So this is the formula again. The formula is total number of people after like who have chest pain and multiplying it with Gini impurity, and here total number of people who do not have chest pain and multiplying it with Gini impurity. Okay, so this is, and then adding it. So this is a simple formula for it. You can write it down as well. This is just total number of people divided by all the people who all the patients. Okay. This is 144, sum of 105 and 34, and dividing that total 144 and 159. Okay, this both. So we will get a weighted average. Alright, the weighted average is found to be 0.364. Okay. So it's something between these two numbers. Okay, 0.336 and 0.395. It is somewhere between. So we will get a weighted average, and then we have to find similar weighted average for each of this relationship. Like this is one relationship, blood circulation and heart disease, and there are, like, to find that relationship, there are two sub relationships. Like after if there is blood circulation and if there is not. Okay, so similarly, as we have seen for chest pain, we have to calculate average weighted impurity for all these three relationships. Okay, so now we got 0.364, 0.360, and 0.381. So now we know that we know the relationship between heart disease and all three attributes. Okay, and now we want to see that which one is the least impure, or which one is the most important with having least impurity. So we can see clearly that this one, blood circulation, is the most relevant to the heart disease. Okay, so this one is more important for us. Okay, so first, what question we will ask is that is your blood circulation is good or not, and then we will ask other questions. So we have to find this impurities, and then we have to take the least impure relation. Okay, least impure element. Then accordingly, we first ask this questions, and then we can see that there are these numbers. Okay, 37 and 127 and 133. Okay, so you can see here that 37 and 127, 133. Now we ask first question, and then we remains with two questions. Okay, so now what we will do is we will again find these numbers again. How, inside this 37 and 127. Okay, we will only see these people, not all the people. Okay, so in this people, total maybe 164 or 74 something, and then we will see in them that how many of them are having chest pain and heart disease, and we will just do all those things again. Okay, So we will again get the impurity. Okay, this is the average weighted average impurity. Okay, of all, like both of these relationships. So we got 0.3 and 0.290. So our second question would be, is there blocked arteries? Okay, and then the remaining one. Then we don't have to calculate. So this would be the order of our questions. Okay, so that is the important question. Like we have two notes, right, for each. So as we have seen here, that when we ask blood circulation, if there is blood circulation good, then this one node will be converted into this. Okay, like then it would be blocked artery, and then there would be chest vein. But there is no blood circulation. Then here as well there is another node which containing no good circulation, and then we have to find like what happens when chest vein is there and what happens when there are blocked arteries. Okay, so similarly we will find this relationship and impurity in all of them. Okay, so at the end what we will get is what we will get is like this. First we ask this question, then blocked artery question, then chest pain. Okay, so now we know that chest pain is the least relevant. Okay, now you can see that there are like only small difference in these numbers, 7 and like here as you see 33 and 100. There is a big difference. Okay, and here 13 and 102. Okay. So again, if you find impurity of this element, like as we like all the steps, we have to just do the similar task repeatedly. Okay. So after asking 3 questions, we will stop. We will not ask any further questions. But in this branch of the tree, we call it branch as well. Okay. In this branch of the tree, we find the impurity. Okay, and we got, after solving this, we got 0.2. Okay, I think it is missed out. It's 0.2. So the impurity is very less. So means it's almost pure. Like we have to learn that it's already 8.5. Okay, we have to learn that when there is very least impurity, then we can rely on that decision. Okay, so here the impurity, after calculating the impurity, it's very less. Okay, for this. After calculating, you will get 0.2 or something. Okay, so we do not need to like ask further questions for that, because till that, if there is a big impurity, then we would like divide the questions and further again ask the questions. Okay, repeatedly, like all these 3 questions. And like just to understand that if we can, like according to this graph, this much, what we can conclude is this good circulation. If yes, is there blocked arteries? No, then we do not have to consider, like we do not have to worry anything. Okay, if there is blood circulation, good circulation, then arteries are blocked and there is chest pain, then there is like a possibilities. Okay, so here we can end because there is a lot purity, so we don't need to check for the third one on chest pain, because most in the data set, most of the people who had good circulation and like there was no blocked arteries, then very few or almost not none, but very less chances of this heart disease was there. Okay, so we do not ask further questions. Okay, so we can conclude that there is a little chance over there. Okay, so we do not have to ask all the questions. We do not have to make all of the trees. So similarly, you can build this tree, this branch as well. You can similarly make this branch. Okay, so there are just similar steps repeatedly. There are 3 steps: calculate impurity, select least impure node, and then improve the result by lower the impurity by going one step further, asking questions. Okay, so I think it's pretty much good for today. And there are certain things as well. If you want to do not mind having 5-6 minutes more, then we can continue, as we can do it in the next lecture as well. So what do you say? Next lecture. Okay. All right. I say we should continue fresh. Okay, that's a good point. We should continue fresh. Like we should start so with something new every day, right? Okay, so the recording will be there. Okay, so and do not worry if you have some work. I will just take 5 to 6 minutes more, and we will end up we will finish this topic today by today itself. Okay, so let's move on to the further things. So this was like a general data, right? Is there heart disease or no? Yes and no data. But how do we determine if there is numerical data? Okay. So now we come on to numerical data. How do we determine, like, how do we make decisions on this? Okay. If we have weight, let's consider we have weight data. Then how do we determine this? So what we do is we first, we just want to divide the patients that categorize those patients who have heart disease with respect to weight. So we have to make our decisions on the basis of weight. So our first step would be to sort all this data, okay. And after sorting the data from lowest to highest or highest to lowest, then we have to make ranges of weights. Okay. Here what we have is discrete values, right? Like it is 155, 180. Okay. But after sorting, we might have a lot of rows, right? So we just have to make ranges. Okay. We have to make ranges. So these ranges would be text as questions. Okay. So we will see how it will work. Okay. We just remember that we first sort the data and we make ranges. Ranges in the sense that let's consider this two between these two 167.5. Okay. This is the average. Okay. Average weight of these two. Okay. Then what we can consider it 0 to 167.5. Okay. And average of this is 185. Okay. So 185 to 167. Okay. So we can range this we can create ranges between by taking taking averages of this data. Okay. If we have a new person with 192 weight, then we can directly add them in this range. Okay. So we are just creating ranges here. Okay. Then if you understand with the available data, we have to take the average of this adjacent patients. Okay. Then what we do is for each this average, okay, for each this average, this is one average, this is second average, third average. We ask questions like if weight is less than 167.5, then next question would be is there heart disease or not? Okay, so there is no heart disease, so it is 10. Okay, so here it is pure, right? So there are none in one, yes, and there are all of them are in one. Okay, in this range. So the impurity here is 1 minus 0 minus 1. It's 0, right? Impurity is 0, so it's clearly pure. There is pure discrimination. Okay. Then similarly, we can find here as well. I think it's little. If you can see, there is 3 and 1. Okay. So that is not pure. 3 and 1. I don't know if it is visible, but it is 3 in yes and 1 in no. Okay. So that is not pure. Okay. There is some impurity. We can say 0.25, 0.25% impurity. So now we know that this is impure and this is pure. This is pure and this is impure. So we would consider this and then take average weighted impurity, right? As we done previously. What was the aim of dealing with this values is that we just have to ask questions. Okay, so we formulate these questions according to weight. Okay, So we like before we do not have any questions, right? So we just formulated weight questions, and we formulate the questions on basis of averages of the adjacent weights. Okay. So after doing that, what we have to do is find the impurity of all of them, right? As we seen here, 0, and here it would be 0.25. Then average would be something like 0.3. Okay, or whatever it gets, we have to find the impurity of this relationship, as we seen previously. Okay, then after finding the impurity, we have to select the least impure. Okay. Which one is least impure? This one, 0.205 with 0.257 impurity. Okay, then accordingly, like we can select this one and again ask this question to in the remaining this question is the weight is 207. Here, what we are getting is this is the least impure. Like this is the most relatable. So we can what you can say, we can if we understand things, we would get that there is some relationship of weight with heart disease, like that above or about 205 weight, there are higher chances of heart disease than there are at 155 weight. Okay, this can be in pound or kg. I think it would be in pounds only. So there are we can see that at this range there would be sudden increase in chances of heart disease, or there would be more chances of heart disease at this weight. Okay, and then this all this. So that is most impure, like that is more related to the heart disease. Okay. Then if we see, then above that there are 3. Then from 3 only 1 is yes and 2 of them are no. Okay, and below that both of them are yes. Okay, so we can see that there is high chances in heart disease above that weight. So this is just a numerical presentation, like finding impurity, finding relationship of weight and heart disease. So this is least impure. Similarly, we can again ask questions after this, like if the weight is less than 205. Okay, then if yes, then we might ask that is the we again find the relationship between this, right? And when 167.5 and 185, then again we find the average. Okay, so it may be 172 or 5. Okay, then again we find the impurity there. Then we will get some other insights, like we would find some weight around 175 or something, which is more relatable. Then accordingly we will get impurity of each step and similar to here, as we make decisions like decision trees, we have to make decision trees here as well. Okay. So it would be like first ask is weight less than 105 or not. If it is more, then there are high chances. If it is less, then there are less chances. So we will ask next questions accordingly. Okay. So similarly, we can draw decision trees on numerical data, and the further process is same as the above, like until we do finding impurity, selecting one, then finding impurity for rest of them, and again finding the least impure or most pure. Okay, so we can draw decision tree like that, and we can then use that. Okay, and if there is a categorical data like this type of colors, okay, so here we do not have to find impurity because these are our categories. Okay, if there is green, if you choose green, then it's like state quiz. In this example, just let's consider if you write like green, then there can be some some indication on your likeness or dislikeness towards anything. Okay, so like that, if you have color choices like this discrete values, then there is no need of finding impurity. You can like in this type of cases, you can create multiple different trees. Like here, as you know, like these all are different separate what we can say trees. Okay, so there is no dependency on any of them. Like there is color. If green is someone liking green and someone liking blue are totally different persons. Okay, so we have to make choices accordingly. So here you can see like there are different trees. So here we do not need to find any impurity there. Okay, so I hope it's clear till now. So I think it's okay. It's pretty much like that much only there in decision trees. And next day, tomorrow we will start with some new topic, or Tushar will be taking some new topic. Okay. So I hope if there any, it's clear. And is there any doubt? Please ask now, or else we can conclude our session for today.
I actually had a question.
Yes.
How do we choose which variables are going to be put as the predictors in the decision tree? Do we give all the column attributes, or do we segregate them into numerical data and categorical data, or what kind of data processing is there to put into the regression algorithm?
All right. So first of all, we have to see that what kind of data are we having. Okay. And so is there any numerical data? Like for example, if we are having weights, then see for categorical data there is other tools. Numerical data there is other tools. Okay. And if there are ranges or discrete values, there are two different things. Okay. So accordingly, first we have to see that what kind of data we have, and on the basis of that, if we have questions related to numerical values. Okay. So what we have to do, like as we mentioned, we use two methods, right? One for numerical data and other one was for yes/no questions type. Okay. So that was the discrete values of answers. Okay. So yes and no, there are discrete values. There cannot be any intermediate value between them. And in numbers, what happens is there are intermediate values as well. Okay. So in such cases where there are categorical data, what we have to do is actually we have to classify our answer in categories, right? So there is no need of any kind of like finding average and all. So we can directly find the impurity, and why we are finding impurity and how we are finding impurity depends on the relationship. Like why we find impurity is that we have to check that what is the belongingness of what is the influence of each attribute, and we have to find this relationship or impurity for each attribute, but one by one. Okay, and then as you asked that how we decide the tool, right? So it depends totally on data first, and then it depends on the importance of the main reason of finding this impurities and all was to find that which question is more relevant. Okay, the most relevant questions should be asked first, right? Because that gives conveys a lot of information, or that conveys the real important information, right? So accordingly, this impurity finding and all was just to find that which question is relevant. Okay, so I haven't yet see the purpose of finding impurity is that if we are telling, just consider that this is chest pain. Okay, if we are telling that I have no chest pain, okay, then we are not asking questions just consider here. We ask first, is there chest pain? Then no, and we are then asking blood circulation, and then we are asking blocked arteries in this similar format. Okay, given format. And here on this side, we are asking first chest pain, and then we are asking blocked arteries, and then we are asking is there good circulation, blood circulation or not. And just consider there are two different there are two different orders of asking questions. Okay, then what happened will if any of those questions are not properly ordered, if the blood circulation is more relevant, and if you are asking first the blocked arteries, then it would change the path of questions. Just we have a small tree, but when we have a larger amount of questions here, we have 3 questions. Okay, so just if you want to understand now, like what do we find this impurities and all, then just consider that there is some difference in weightage question, and there is difference in importance of the questions, and some relevant questions convey more information. I am not actually able to articulating your like how these importance are different in like both the cases. What happens when you ask the wrong question first? So I think that was a clear like that was a doubt. And Ishan, what else did you ask? Like when to use what tools? So that depends on data itself. Okay, what kind of data we are dealing with?
Yeah, this much I understood. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there any like anything you didn't understood? So I might solve your doubt tomorrow. So if anyone has something that is not understood, like today you are not understood, if you haven't understood yet, then please ask. I will clear your doubt in the next section. Okay. Actually, I'm not able to like formulate that concept in words right now. I don't know why. Okay.
No problem, no problem. But I understood the idea what you said.
Okay. That's good. Great. Is there any other doubts? Anyone? If not, then you can conclude to this session and you can leave. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Thank you, everyone. You can leave now.